So welcome back to another episode, and yes, the episode is called Rest in Peace to the Switch from 2017 to 2025. It's a look back on the system and all of the great games that came out, some of the highs, some of the lows. There was a lot that was going on with the Switch over the last 8 years. So I definitely want to say that the Nintendo Switch is not completely done, for sure. There's some great games still coming out on it. We get Metroid Prime 4, Beyond, that's coming on it, but it's gonna start slowing down. The Nintendo Switch still has a lot of life left in her, for sure, but this is more of a celebration of life and what this machine has done over the years. And I'll ask you guys, what do you think of the last 8 years of the Nintendo Switch? What has it meant to you? Or, was it something fantastic? Or should it be left in a graveyard? So March 3rd, 2017, the Switch was officially launched. And there was a lot of excitement leading up to it because we'd never seen a Nintendo console quite like that, where it was a handheld and it was a console at the same time. And it was like, what? This is fantastic, and everybody was hyped. That's the one thing I do want to say. There was so much hype around it, and did it live up to expectations? Now, being a lifelong Nintendo fan, I was quite excited about the system, and to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. I thought, hey, this is gonna be great. I can take it to a park or a forest. That was always the joke back then. I say, I take it to a forest, and people are like, what do you mean a forest? I'm like, I live in Canada. We go to forests, I can hang out for the day and just play the Nintendo Switch, and I can have quite a bit of fun with it for sure. And what I find really fascinating is how nostalgic I am already for 8 years ago. It's like, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. Do you guys remember when it was announced and then we got the system, and that's already 8 years ago? Like, where does the time go? It's really nuts.
Milk.
But it was wild for me, and the nostalgia for me hits when my friend Victor Lucas got the system early. And I went over to his place and he allowed me to do the unboxing with him and play Breath of the Wild for the very first time. And I had expectations for it, but those expectations were blown away. And for that week early, I would go over to Victor Lucas's house, and we're two guys in our late 40s, and I'd be knocking on the door at like 9 in the morning, like I was in high school again with my friend Andrew, saying, hey, can I come in and play Breath of the Wild? And for me, it was magical. It was a really magical time, and it really captured my youth again. It made me feel like a young guy in high school going to his friend's place playing a really brand new, exciting game. And that's what Breath of the Wild was. And I didn't really realize that at that time, Breath of the Wild would become my favorite game of all time. And it was a remarkable game from Nintendo because they've done Zelda games before. They'd always have the prefix dungeons, but this was a complete open world game, and the likes of which I'd never seen. And I still said to this day that I still can't believe it's 8 years later that Nintendo made that game. I'm like, Nintendo made such an open world game like this? This is remarkable. And it kind of showed me how far Nintendo had actually come in such a short period of time. And just as you thought the Nintendo Switch couldn't do anything else, all of a sudden they bring out Tears of the Kingdom, a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and they surpassed it in so many ways. All of the physics in it, all the things you could build. That game alone I could talk about for an entire hour. And then up next, we got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a game that we'd already got on the Wii U, and I enjoyed quite a bit, and I'm like, okay, we're just getting a port of that. No, we got a really great version of this game. And over the years, there's been so much DLC that's really added so many tracks to the game. And it's been remarkable that playing that game, I was like, this is a 10 out of 10 game. Even now, I'm talking about the Switch 1, I'm not talking about the Switch 2, but even now, they're doing like Mario Kart World. And even I said that they hit the ceiling with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because it's like an 11 out of 10 game. It's so amazing what they did. And it's like, how can they top that? Well, I guess they had to top that by going, making it into a world event, which is just so wild. But I remember reviewing that with my friend Victor Lucas and how excited we were. And it was kind of exciting that Nintendo was kind of returning after the kind of bit of a flop of the Wii U. Now I want to say that I really enjoyed the Wii U. I really did. There's a lot of great games on it, had a lot of fun, but it didn't catch on with the mainstream audience. And so, yeah, it was nice that Nintendo felt like it was back. And even with games like ARMS, of all games, I was like, ARMS, I'm like, this is a gimmicky game. I'm like, even for the Joy-Cons, I'm not gonna be into this. I played it, boy was I wrong. Boy was I completely wrong about everything. I was like, this game is remarkable. Like, wow, it was fun. It was fun to play online. It was fun to play against friends. And I think it's a very underrated game on the Nintendo Switch. And then something that I don't know if we'll ever see again, Mario Odyssey was released. But what was interesting about this one was they did a midnight launch for the game. And now it's 8 years later, and nowadays, I don't think you'll ever see that again. And the reason why is that everything's like a digital download at launch now. There's no real reason for anybody to go to a store and buy anything. And that's really sad because I had a lot of fun that night with Mario Odyssey, going to my local EB Games and seeing the lineup of people, and everybody was in such good spirits, everybody was having such a great time, and there was some excitement in the air because we were getting a brand new Mario game in the vein of Mario 64, and we hadn't seen that for a while that way, and the game lived up to expectations. The game was really well received by fans and everybody alike, and what a great moment. It was like Nintendo was back.
Come on!
But we were getting other games from different developers. I mean, these are completely out of order for all of the games I'm going to talk about. But we got Astral Chain by Platinum Games. What a breath of fresh air that was. First seeing that game and just seeing the design aesthetic of it, I was like, this is like a 90s anime game. And to be honest with you, it felt like it was really pushing the Switch at that time. And I was like, this is great stuff, and the action adventure of that game were over the top, great storyline, and really good music with that one as well. And then I just want to talk about the entire Xenoblade Chronicles saga that happened. Not quoting Xenosaga from the past, I'm talking about Xenoblade Chronicles, the saga that happened with Nintendo this generation. We got Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition, which is great to see again from the Wii. We were like, oh great, we finally get a high definition port of this game, which was remarkable, and that's where I really fell in love with that game. And then we got the second game, then we got Torna, then we get the third game, and then the amazing thing about it all is we get Xenoblade Chronicles X, which was on the Wii U. We got an updated remaster of that, and that was remarkable to get that. What a time for the Switch, just for the Xenoblade Chronicles series alone, to get all of those games on this one system. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that for a series of games. Yeah, we got Xenosaga, all for the PS2, but that was 3 games. And with this, we were getting like 5+ games, which is just wild. Fire Emblem made a return with Fire Emblem 3 Houses. That game was remarkably good, and I think it's a very underrated Fire Emblem game. I thought they did a really outstanding job with it. And then we got Fire Emblem Engage. And I want to say something, and I don't know if it's controversial, but it might be. I honestly enjoyed that game. It's up there as a favorite of mine, like Path of Radiance was. There was just something about, I know, the character designs for a lot of people, they didn't seem to like it. I really like the character designs. I really like the combat. I really like just going around grinding and just, fighting, wave after wave of enemies over and over again just to build up my troops. And I was really enjoying the grind of that. Great graphics, great battle animation in there. And of course, we got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yes, the Ultimate Smash Bros. Experience. And that's a game that really illuminated the Switch life because it was a game that kept on going and kept on giving. It was crazy. Every direct, there was new characters revealed. New characters revealed. For everybody out there, everybody got a character they wanted. Even I did. I got Terry Bogard. I mean, what more could I have asked for? It was really the game that just kept on giving. And I think it was one of those games that is such a 10 out of 10 game, it's really going to be hard to beat it in the future because it was such perfection. It gave all the fans everything that they could have ever desired, ever wanted in a Smash Brothers game. And the roster of characters was unbelievable. They just kept on dishing it out and you're like, I can't believe they're adding more characters. And just when you thought it was over, they added more characters. What did you guys think of Smash Brothers? I'm sure most of you are still playing the game to this day. And then we got different variations on the hardware itself. It started off with a Switch Lite, which was an all-in-one Switch, smaller design, more compact, and I really liked it. It was very solid. It was one of those ones that I took with me traveling because I knew it was so sturdy, and I really liked that. In fact, I remember I left my Switch Lite at an airport. Yeah, I was coming back from a trip from the States, and I was tired. It was first thing in the morning, and I left one bag there when I was checking through, going through the security. I get home, I'm like, where's my Switch Lite? I freaked out, and I had to call them up and pay a whole bunch more money than I think it was worth to have it sent back, but I really like that. And then we got the OLED. And the one thing I want to say about the OLED is I was on the fence at first. I was like, it's going to be a brighter screen, because I already said that the Switch screen was so good. It's like, how do you update that? I mean, like, it's already so good. I'm not upset. I'm a guy who grew up in the 80s with the Game Boy and having to put lights on it and all that. So I'm very easily impressed with technology, because I come from the old days when things weren't so hot, and I was blown away by the OLED screen. And my wife, she spent hundreds of hours playing the Xeno games on that OLED screen. And even right now, she's actually recovering from a little day surgery, and she's on the couch and just playing Xenoblade Chronicles X at this current time, because that screen is just the screen that keeps on giving. I do want to say a game that Nintendo released which saved a lot of people at the time, and that was for Animal Crossing. Yes, the Switch version, because it was the pandemic. Things were looking dire. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. All we knew is we all had to stay at home. And it was a very lonely, very strange time, and a time that I'll never forget. And it was really disturbing in a lot of ways. But Nintendo released that game, obviously accidentally, at the right time when everybody was at home. Everybody needed some comfort and some fun, and that's exactly what Animal Crossing gave to everybody at that time, was some escapism and some fun and lightheartedness in a time that was very not lighthearted. It was very nice to see that game come out, and Kim again really jumped on that game and loved the heck out of it and played hundreds of hours like many of you out there. And Nintendo also did something unbelievable. They released the best Halloween game I have ever played in my entire life. And many of you out there probably have your own favorite Halloween games that really did it for you. But Luigi's Mansion 3 did it for me. And it was remarkable. I'm like sitting here in this graveyard, and I'm thinking back, I still cannot believe those graphics. And it was in a time when Nintendo sent review copies out early to regular people like myself. But I got to play that game about a week early, and I was in heaven, and I was like, I can't wait for everybody to play this. I remember thinking that at the time, and I could not believe the graphics fidelity of it. I was like, this is unbelievable how this looks. And the gameplay with Luigi and Luigi was perfect. Had a lot of great times during Halloween playing that game. And I want to talk about a Nintendo Switch game that haunts me. It's a nostalgic game in a kind of a terrible way. It's a game that haunts me to this day. It's really weird. And I was really excited about it. I played the original game back on the Game Boy back in the day, and they were doing a full remake of it, and that was for The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Now, what was very unusual for me was I played the game, I did a first thoughts, I did a final thoughts. I loved the game. I thought it was remarkable. And then something unexpected happened. In the end of 2019, just after that game got released, I got really sick, like really sick. I was thinking, I still believe I was one of the first people to have COVID. I even had it just before they even knew what COVID was. I didn't know it at the time. I checked myself into the hospital on my birthday, January 13th, 2020. It was just the beginning. The pandemic was just about to kick in, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't breathe. It was a crazy load of stuff that went on. I'm not going to go into it again. I did it in a video a couple of years ago called like 2020, like my worst year or something like that, because everything went wrong. It was crazy because Kim was pregnant. We were expecting our first child, and I was sick for years. It took me a long time to get back to normal. And at the end of it all, I finally got diagnosed for what it was, because I went to the hospital, I did every heart test, everything, and they're like, oh, I think you just have anxiety. That's what they say to me, and I'm like, I don't think so. Like, this is not normal. And it started to bake my noodle in my head. I'm like, do I have anxiety? I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't. And so I finally got to a really great specialist, but it took me to the end of the pandemic to get to the specialist. And what happened was all the nerves in my diaphragm, I got an infection and it destroyed them. So those nerves help you breathe. And without them, you have to go, and that was me for like the first year. And it took me 18 months for them to heal. And they heal naturally, there's nothing you can actually do. But it's a very rare condition to happen to somebody. In fact, the specialist I saw said that was the first time she'd seen that case in years. I think she said like 10 years. It's like she'd only seen one other case. So yeah, and so getting back to Link's Awakening, why does it haunt me? Because I was listening to that music, laid in bed, laid on the couch, I honestly, there was a couple of times I think I could have died, because if I had laid the wrong way, I couldn't breathe. And I was getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. It was probably the worst time in my life. And that music from Link's Awakening haunts me, man. And it takes me back, because I was remembering back to a time when I felt really, really good. You know, like Link's Awakening, I was like, it's the top of the world, reviewing that game, having a great time. And then all of a sudden, I'm bedridden, really sick, and thinking that I might die. And that was a very haunting little moment for me within the Switch lifetime there. I'm so lucky that I was able to kind of get through that time and get back to a kind of some normality. So I'm very thankful for that. Yeah, I just gotta mention a few more games for sure. The Metroid series returns with Metroid Dread. And what an amazing game that was. A return to 2D. And we didn't see that coming, because we all thought we were gonna get Metroid Prime 4 first. And then all of a sudden they're like, Metroid Dread. And you're like, wait, what? It's not Metroid Prime? And everybody was thrown off by that. But everybody clapped back and was excited for a brand new 2D Metroid game. And I have a lot of fond memories with Rob. He was off at the time because he had a foot injury. Oh my God, what a bunch of times, man. And we sat around and just played that game all day. And that was a return again for me to my childhood, sitting with my childhood friend, playing a Metroid game and enjoying it together. Because Metroid was really his series. I loved Super Metroid and I loved Metroid Prime, but it was nice to share this kind of Metroid moment with Rob. And that game was amazing. It was balls hard at times. Oh my God, that game was insane. But there was such a great sense of satisfaction when we finished that game. We were high-fiving and we ran in the other room and filmed our final impressions of the game. And that's a moment that I think me and Rob will always have forever, and I'm really thankful for that. And Metroid was not done. No, we were not getting Metroid Prime 4 yet, because we were getting Metroid Prime Remastered, and I'm still very, very thankful for that game. I really enjoyed playing that and revisiting Metroid Prime. I mean, I remember when that came out on the GameCube, and it was like, whoa, Metroid's first person, man. It was like wild. And the graphics at the time of the GameCube were amazing. And so it was nice to all of a sudden play a remastered version on the Switch. And it's a great, faithful port, remaster, great texture work on there, and just the fun of landing on the planet and exploring and getting lost. That's what it's about. If you're not lost playing that game, maybe you're playing the game right, but I was always lost. And that was the fun of it, trying to figure out and negotiate your way through all of the different levels within. Now, Nintendo experimented a couple of times, and that's always great. I'm always happy to see Nintendo experimenting. Some of the things worked out well, some of the things did not work out well. And we got to talk about Nintendo Labo. I still am scratching my head and going, what was the deal with Nintendo Labo? I mean, that was so strange. They had this great system, and I'm like, why are they pairing this with a bunch of cardboard? Cheap cardboard, and that you can use the Switch with. It was weird. Like, I can understand as a tool to play with your kids, that would be really cool. I guess just for older people, we were kind of looking at it going, what? And I still to this day, I look at Nintendo Labo and I kind of laugh to myself, and I'm like, well, that was an interesting experiment, and very weird and all that, but very much part of the graveyard. One experiment that really paid off and was a great time for me was Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. Now, this was a real Mario Kart racer with toys, and you could set up an entire track and race it around and control it with your Nintendo Switch. On paper, it'd be like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I bought my nephew it for Christmas one year, and we set it all up and we played it, and he loved it. He loved it so much, and we enjoyed that experience so much. And it's like, that'll always be a treasured memory for me, especially getting older now, looking at my nephew and me, getting to share that kind of moment, building tracks, racing it around, going, oh my God, you're gonna crash into this or do this. And that was an experiment that really paid off. And I really recommend that game still to people, because it's a different experience where you get to use the Nintendo Switch and little kart racers. And boy, if you assembled a whole bunch of them together, you can make one heck of a track. It's remarkable looking back over the last 8 years and the amount of Switch games that were released. I swear to God, it's gonna be thousands. There's like so many. I mean, in my collection alone, I got hundreds, and it's been a real system to collect for. And I loved it that it wasn't region locked. So I could import games from Japan and bring them over and experience them. And I had a lot of fun just building a gigantic shooter collection of old side view shoot 'em ups, shmups. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It was a real collector system, I gotta say that. And it was a system that really had every single game that I could ever have wanted on it. I got all the Final Fantasy games on there. I got so many RPGs. This was a system for everybody, and it really, really delivered. And it's one of those things that you gotta honor. You gotta honor. It's my favorite console of all time, and I never thought I'd say that when I first started playing it. I was impressed with everything, but here we are 8 years later, and I look back at my entire Switch collection, and there's some gems in there. There's some really beautiful games, and it's been a pleasure over the last 8 years to play all of these games. And man, Nintendo really pulled it off with the Switch. It could have been the Wii U too. I remember some people saying that at the time. It's like going, oh, it's gonna be the Wii U too. And certainly didn't turn out to be that way.
Nintendo Switch.
It was quite literally the system that kept on giving, and gave you so much. It really did. It gave us so much, so many great games, so many great memories, and there's still so many great games coming out for it. We're not in the graveyard exactly yet for its demise. I'm here to celebrate the last 8 years and to say, yeah, it is kind of sad that it is coming to a close, but it's slowly coming in. It's still gonna be part of the Switch 2 ecosystem. So it's not done yet, but it has been a heck of a run. And I'll ask you guys, what are your favorite moments from the Nintendo Switch's history? What is your favorite moment? Was it a favorite game? Was it a favorite moment playing with your friends and family? Definitely let me know down below, because my memories are deep. I can only imagine for you guys how many memories you have playing the system and enjoying it and having a really, really good time. And that's the one thing when I look at the Switch, I think, what a great time. Even if I was in the house playing it on the TV, or I was in the park somewhere playing it, you know, with Kim for the afternoon at the park. Great times and what great memories. And yeah, what was the Switch like for you over the last 8 years? Let me know down below. So anyways, guys, until next time. That was weird. I don't want to sound spooky, but I swear to God, I just saw somebody over there for a split second and I looked and there's nobody there. Isn't that weird? That was weird. That was really strange.